hit this one, Miles. Great shot. Oh, it's a biggie. Straight over the top. The little man has hit the big fella for six. He's off his size. And he's smashed him down the ground. What a player. What a wonderful player.
The cricket nuts.
You are listening to The Cricket Nuts, a podcast where we sit down and talk about a host of issues around cricket, the sport we all live and love. You should expect our views to be passionate, honest, emotional, and adequately analytical. On this show, you will hear Jay, Uday, and myself, Bishen, a motley crew from the fields of law, hospitality, and marketing, thrash it out on our common passion.
Hey everyone, good day and welcome to episode 9 of the Cricket Nuts. Of the 3 Cricket Nuts we usually see, we have 2 today, Uday and myself. You know us, you've seen us. I'm saying this as if we have hundreds and thousands of viewers watching. You can't have hundreds and thousands of viewers if you do one episode every 6 months, 8 months. I think it's been 11 months since the last one. We'll try and be better. There's also a third nut today, and the third nut is Vivas. Vivas, I can't see your face. Where is Vivas?
Hi guys, hi. I'm here. I hope you can see me now.
Yeah.
Hey, so we have Vivas. Vivas is the third cricket nut. Vivas, let's allow you to introduce yourself. Why don't you?
So cricket nut is a fair description of who I am, but I would go slightly beyond that. I would say I'm a sports nut. Everything that is something that antagonizes people in my house is because of sports. I think that's a good way to say it, because my wife and I are always fighting about the fact that it's always sports running, be it football, cricket, baseball, hockey, whatever it is. But cricket is from the bottom of my heart. I work in advertising. I've had the lovely opportunity to work with a lot of cricketers as well. I know in India, cricket and advertising go hand in hand. So I hope I can somewhere give you a few anecdotes about that, as well as tell you what I feel about what's happening with cricket now.
Since you've said that, I'm sure people who are watching want to know who are the cricketers you've met, and who's your favorite among the people you met? Has anyone let you down? Have you found someone to be particularly fun?
Yeah, you don't have to be politically correct. Just go.
Okay.
Because no one's watching. Remember, no one's watching this.
No, I think Virat is the person I didn't meet, but I spoke to on the phone for 40 minutes. And I think he is the guy who gave me, he didn't give me the advice, but from what I took, he told me the greatest thing. We were actually talking about challenges in life. And we were talking about how you overcome challenges. And Virat told me about how he got out for a duck to Liam Plunkett off a third ball. And he got caught by Alistair Cook at mid-off. And he said, I walked back and I said, Virat, you have to change change everything in your life. And he spoke about that moment. And I think that is an advice, although he wasn't giving it to me as an advice, that just resonates with me with everything I do. I won't name the worst people I ever worked with, but I will tell you the worst team I worked with. I worked on a shoot with Mumbai Indians, and that was the worst shoot that I ever worked on.
Why is that? What happened?
Man, everything about the shoot. I need a car with tinted glasses. I need you have me for 2 hours for the shoot. I will not go beyond 2 hours. I need a sandwich like this. I need this, that, blah, blah, blah. Whereas I worked with a shoot with CSK people, lovely brand of clothing. And we had a shoot with a dog with MSD in that shoot. And just the way he got along and he said, hey, my time is your time. And whatever you want me to do, or if you need to go beyond, that was the most positive shoot experience that I ever had. But I had a really bad experience with the Mumbai Indians. That's why I won't name the players. They were a mix of Indian and foreign players. Again, I don't want to name the country, just in case you go back and do your research.
I'm getting wild thoughts now about who this could be, but okay.
Fun. Thanks, Viv. I don't know, Viv mentioned at the start, he's met so many cricketers, etc., because he's in advertising and that's the space he was in. Not sure if you mentioned that, Viv. Like everybody else on this podcast that you guys have seen, Viv is also not truly in the cricketing space, but he's in the advertising space. The rest of us are also lawyers and marketing and whatnot. But Viv clearly still has the the closest connection, I think, to sport through his full-time, daytime job.
Yeah. So I'm really lucky because I think when you work for big brands in India, cricket goes is so relevant to what we do. Not just about working with players, because a lot of advertising in India happens during the cricket season as well, right? So everything that we plan generally was during the World Cup or during Test series, and now it's during the IPL. So cricket is at the heart of what we do, including social media around cricket and everything. So I've just been very lucky that my career path allowed me to be glued on to my passion as well. Yeah.
Super, great stuff. Okay, so down to what we're discussing today, guys. We're discussing today a topic that's come out of the fact that teams don't win away from home. That's the root where this we're actually discussing. One of the things we'll be discussing is the factor how important the toss is and how that's so much of an advantage to the home team. We'll first discuss the toss and if there's anything we can do to even out the competitiveness in a away series for the away team. Let's discuss this bit on the toss, since that's where this topic germinated. So, Uday, you want to go first and tell us what you think of the toss, especially with respect to test series and the impact it has on the away team, etc. Since many test series are two tests, three tests, so that game makes a big difference.
Just considering the fact that it's the home team knows the conditions so well, they prepare the pitch mostly to their advantage, and the fact that they are completely aware of the conditions, and they're in that sense much more prepared. I would think that it's an interesting idea to have the visiting team decide whether they want to bat or bowl. Is definitely a good idea. I think it definitely adds to the competitiveness, especially in places like India. I mean, let's not talk about what happened with New Zealand, but generally in a place like India, or when you go to Australia, or even if you're in Sri Lanka, where the conditions are so loaded in favor of the home team, and it's very difficult, like you said, Bishen, for the visiting team to adjust, to get used to the pitch conditions, the weather conditions, everything. It's challenging, especially if you have. I think it was in the previous series where I think the Bangladesh series where they start off with a match in Chennai, for example, where it's extreme heat. Uh, Bangladesh, the guys in Bangladesh might be used to it, but if you're coming from Australia or you're coming from any other, maybe from England, from a cooler place, you've got to get used to the weather conditions. You've got to get used to the spinning tracks. It's a lot for the visiting team, and invariably they're going to find it hard. So I think it's only fair for the visiting team to have that call. Having said that, I also think there is something interesting about a toss. It kind of challenges the team to think on its feet. You really need to make a decision. I mean, it's you don't go pre-decided into a game. You think on your feet. You decided the toss, what you want to do. There is that level of unpredictability, which is also interesting. So I'm not somebody who's completely advocating doing away with the toss. It's just a good idea to have a visiting team have their say. But yeah, that's.
Do you agree with that?
No, I love the toss. I think there is something special about. So there are two things that I would like to say here. The one is I think there's something special about men walking with track pants but with a jacket and going in there for a toss. And I think there's something beautiful about it, and I don't want to take that away. And I do think it allows for a unpredictable element as well. And I saw that in like you mentioned earlier, Rohit Sharma got it completely wrong, and I was there for that match, and I was looking up at the sky, and I'm like, wow, like you're batting in this, and we got all out for 42, 46, whatever. Uh, and I do think he just got it wrong, and he got it wrong at the toss. And it could have been the other way around. Maybe New Zealand would have bowled first. I think the Latham actually said that he would have also batted first, which is weird. I wouldn't get rid of it. I do think it's okay that home teams prepare pitches their way. But I do think, and this is where I'm going to, this is the second point I wanted to make. I do think when it comes to T20, I would get rid of the toss. And I'm just going to refer, I love sports. And one of the sports that I really love is baseball. And in baseball, there is this thing that you say, when kids are playing out in the field, they say bottom of the ninth, and all the bases are loaded. I love that little thing that kids say. The equivalent of that in cricket is 1 ball, 6 runs to win. And I still think that's the heart of what T20 is. So, what I would say is just for T20, I would always think whether it's IPL, whether it's any other tournament, the home team will should always bat second. I think that just should be a given thing because there is something beautiful about it when you're going and you support a team in a stadium and you're waiting for that team to hit that six to win the match or chase down a total. And I think only for T20 that's how it should be. But for the rest of T20 for Test and ODI, I would stick with the toss. I think there's something beautiful about it.
I mean, I think I'm going to take a middle ground here between what the two of you said because I fully agree with Wave in that there is a romantic element to the toss, right? You wake up, let the Border Gavaskar Trophy is coming up. When you watch cricket in Australia as a kid, also you woke up at 5 o'clock and you wanted to see the toss, the players going out, the decision that is made of the toss, the team that's announced right after, right? There is a romantic element that we've associated with the toss, and let's admit it, a lot of cricket is traditions, and these are the things we hold on to, and these are the things people love. The entire format of Test cricket itself, if we were practical about it, would be gone by now. But it's being held on because of traditionalists, because there are there is a romantic element to it. So I wouldn't do away with the toss. Also, I think there is the fact of what makes good TV, and the toss makes good TV. That's also a reality of it. Cricket today is about it making good TV and for TRPs, bringing in viewership. So the toss is entertaining. There is an entertainment value associated with the toss. So I wouldn't do away with it, but also the fact that uh, away teams really struggle in today's day. Very few away teams win matches. I mean, India's an exception that we've had 18 series without losing, but most teams win at home, right? Uh, Sri Lanka, who are a fairly insipid team otherwise, beat New Zealand at home 2-0. Now, sure, I agree with Viv that you should be allowed to, have home conditions, have pitches that favor you, etc. But why also have the best of those conditions, right? So the middle ground that I would offer here is to do away with the toss only for the first test match of a series and not for every test match in that series. Because once teams get a sighter and have the opportunity to assess conditions and get used to it a little bit, then it's a little bit more of an even playing field. Of course, it's not an even playing field because the home team has played in those conditions all their life, so it can never be even. Let's admit that. But as soon as you have a playing field that is slightly more even, you can do away with the toss. And I would say the second, third, fourth, and fifth test matches can have a toss. But the first test match, the away side should get to choose what they want to do. So yeah, that's what I'd say.
It's an interesting idea for sure. I mean, just a couple of things I want to say for that is, I mean, if you had the visiting captain decide what they want to do, they would still, I would say they'd still have the option or be required to say that only at the big center of the pitch just before a test. So the captain's walking out and speaking about it, I don't think he should be revealing what he would do before he actually walks out. That's one point.
No, but it's the uncertainty of it, right? The element of toss is the uncertainty.
Yeah, the uncertainty.
You take away the biggest element of the toss by doing that.
Yeah. I agree. I know the romantic or the beautiful, I mean, the traditionalist view is what keeps test cricket alive and beautiful to watch. I agree with that.
Viv, you spoke about T20 cricket alone and maybe not having a toss in T20s, but aren't you presupposing then that batting is more exciting to watch than bowling? To say that the home crowd would want to watch the home team finish the match with the bat? Aren't we then saying that watching the home team bowling is not as fun? Is that the message you want to send?
I think that's absolutely true, and I don't think we can run away with that fact. That is the truth about it. And that is true. When I watch Test cricket, I watch it for Ashwin's bowling or for Bumrah's bowling or for how Stark is bowling or Cummins is bowling. But when I watch T20, I watch it for, look at the last IPL, for example, where India was cheering for who's going to get 400, right? That's all we were going for. I think that's another debate that we should have.
Doesn't watching Mayank Yadav bowl still excite you, even if it's a T20 game? I mean, I know it's an exception. I know it's an exception, but I'm just saying.
No. I think it's fair. You're right that it's an exception, but even with Mayank Yadav, The excitement lasts to what is the number that he's going to hit, right?
Yeah.
Is he going to hit 145, 150, 152, 153? So with spin that doesn't exist, nobody cares about. And I'm again saying this is only for T20. And I do think T20 is very important because we're trying to become a global game. We're the second most popular game in the world, and that means we're trying to compete with the first most popular game, right? So therefore, only T20. Perhaps we should use it for be
A marketing
the
tool.
best at what you. Yeah, it's a marketing. Absolutely, well said. Yeah, it's completely a marketing tool. And the reason why I said visiting teams should always bowl first, it gives the home team that thrill towards the end of chasing a target, and that's what most of it is, right? And I do think cricket comes down to that. And also the other reason why I said that is, let's say the home team comes, I mean the away team comes and scores 200, it still keeps the home team in the game till the end, and fans walk away happy, right? And the one thing I did disagree with what you said, Bishen, you spoke about how it's a spectacle for TV. I disagree with you on that. I don't think sports should be about that. It should make a great spectacle, but I think it's all the bells and whistles that happen around. I think at the heart of it, sports should be beautiful to watch in the stadium. And for me, the entire toss thing, I think that's the problem with it, because our game's good enough to watch in the stadium right now. India won 18 series in a row, and I love it. I'm a huge Indian cricket fan. But the question that I will ask, and it might be controversial, did they win it beautifully? Because the thing is, when you're in the stadium and it's a spinner bowling after bowling from one end to another, it didn't make for such a beautiful spectacle for me. And I went for quite a few of those matches, as against a Bumrah coming in and bowling quick and the ball bouncing. I'm not saying go all space and no spin, right? But I'm saying I like that contest. But that I didn't see. So perhaps that
Right.
again.
Just to interrupt, I think you're talking about there being a better balance, right? You wouldn't want to watch just an all spin victory. Yeah.
I don't think in the stadium spin provides the most beautiful experience for you to watch. I think pace genuinely just as a spectacle, you see that because okay, let me put it this way: when a spinner is bowling, there are six people standing around the back. You sometimes don't even see where the ball is. You don't see much. You're most of the time you're waiting in the stadium for what is the replay I want to see. Most of the times think, oh, I should have just stayed at home to watch this. I would have known whether it's an LBW or an edge or whatever is happening. But whereas there's something beautiful about a pace bowler bowling, and the ball hits,
Yeah, so I
and you
think
hear the nick, all the way in the top row. But again, I'm
fair.
not. I agree with you that it's that evenness, and I don't think it will happen because that's beautiful about cricket with the different conditions, different soils, different grounds, and so on. But I do think we need to strive for that, though.
On the TV bit, I just want to add that the reality of it though is that there are 50,000 guys at the stadium while millions watching on TV. So ultimately, it's important to cater to that crowd as well. And yeah, and the toss is one of those bells and whistles I get. Okay, so moving on, let's discuss amongst us. So we've gone through the toss a fair bit, right? What are the other ways in which, let's say, home team, away team can come closer in terms of competitiveness or other aspects of the game where we even it out? I'll offer one, and then we can go around the table and discuss the others. The one I'd like to offer, and this is not something that I honestly want to see, but it's worth discussing because it's an option. One of the elements that favors a home team is the ball. There are three manufacturers in the world, right? Kookaburra, Dukes, and SG, the big ones. And I think in Pakistan, first class cricket, they use something called Grays. So maybe that's a fourth. But these are three balls that are fairly unique from each other. And it matters a lot to the home team. The Dukes has a particularly pronounced seam. It swings more, moves off the pitch more. And those are the conditions in England, right? The Kookaburra stays harder for longer. It has the flattest seam. And in conditions like Australia, where you want the ball to bounce more, to come on at pace, the Kookaburra's hardness makes a difference. But if you played with the Kookaburra ball in England, it won't swing as much, so it won't suit those conditions. And the SG ball, I guess, is somewhere in between. It's closer to the Duke's ball, but it's loses its hardness a little bit quicker, which means it's more conducive to, say, reverse swing, which is more prevalent in the subcontinent, things like that.
But
Anyway, so
India uses Duke more?
SG.
Okay.
India uses SG.
Okay.
India uses SG.
Okay.
The Dukes is used only in West Indies, Ireland, and England. Kookaburra is used everywhere else.
Okay.
And yeah, the Greys is used in first class cricket in Pakistan. So that's what it's like broadly. Now, honestly, personally, I like the fact that there are these different elements that a team has to adjust to. But if you were to have a standard ball across the world, teams could prepare better for those conditions. They would be prepared better for those conditions, which means the home team will have less of an advantage. You still have the pitch to play with, right? You still have the fact that the conditions around you, the weather and whatnot, may suit you better. There's, of course, the crowd, right? So there are plenty of home factors which would still support you, but you would take away the ball by standardizing it. So is that something which you guys think there's value in? Whoever wants to go first? Uday.
I think it's a good idea. I think it's definitely something that can level the playing field a bit. I don't see the need to have. I mean, again, like what you said, what we say about the different conditions, having different balls which do differently in different conditions is interesting to watch. But yeah, standardizing it is definitely a way to minimize the advantage that a home team might have. But yeah, it's a great idea. It's a nice thought.
Think as a viewer, would you like it? Would you like to see that? Because I wouldn't, honestly. I mean, I know I proposed it, but I wouldn't. I wouldn't like to see the same ball across the world.
The thing is, I mean, I don't know if a comparison with another game is valid here, but I'm not sure in football if they use different balls, right? For example, do they? I don't think so.
No.
I think the sport should
Actually, Uday, I was just thinking about the same thing, right?
Yeah.
So football, I think the last what happened was the Jabulani that came out, which was a
Jablani was now a
ball.
long time, 3 World Cups ago.
Yeah, the last ball that made a big chaos about it, because when some people took a free kick, it used to go up and down a little more, so it became more. It became difficult to goalkeep. Right. So, I was thinking about it when you were talking about it, and I said, yeah, it gave a little bit of chaos to the sport and everything. But I agree with you. I think what Bishen proposed was actually a really good idea, because the beautiful thing about sport is the heart of the essence of sport, and the core of it is this commonality, right?
Yeah.
Whether you're rich, you're poor, whatever religion you're from, whether you're from city, rural, whatever, sport makes a level playing field for you. So why does the ball have to be different? I would go as far as saying every ball that every cricket, everywhere, first class, whatever, should be always the same. No, that's what makes you a great sportsman. And I think that's what's great about football. Yes, even in football, at different levels, there are different, qualities of football. But the core of it is the same. The size of it is the same. The way it moves is very similar. I actually think, Bishen, that's a great idea, because it takes away so much of the nonsense around it. And guess what? At the end of the day, these manufacturers, SG, Kookaburra, Dukes, whoever, are corporate companies, right? Why are we not allowing a fourth player, fifth player to come on and be a part of this sport? Because these the different boards that control cricket are buying balls from them, and then they're saying these are the big ones. I think sports should be equal for all. Hence, open up the playing field, make it one standard size, one standard color, one standard weight.
But that it is. But that it already is. No, the color standard, color size, weight, and stuff is standard. It's the nature of the ball that's a bit different.
When you say nature, what do you mean then?
A pronounced seam, whereas the hardness of the ball, those are the differences. But the weight, size is exactly the same, whichever ball you use.
I strongly believe at an international level, you need to have a playing field that's similar. I understand if a ball manufacturer from Jalandhar comes out and he says, I'm trying to make this ball, but maybe I'm not making it as good, but we should give him the opportunity also to make their international standard ball. This is again going back to the corporateness of it, right? Can a new manufacturer now come in? No, right? We've closed the doors.
I mean, there are hundreds of ball manufacturers in the world, but The boards are using the same ball for consistency because they're producing a standard
But
quality of ball.
but the truth is, no manufacturer is ever going to break into the top three, and that is killing competition, right? Because these are the only three people who are allowed to make. And I don't believe that. I'm not blaming anybody, but one of the captains is calling up and saying, "Hey, can you pronounce the scene more?" I don't think that's fair. I think that
Yeah.
takes away from the root of what sport is. I don't think in any other sport, and I follow a lot of sports, whether it be ice hockey, or baseball, football, rugby, whatever. I don't see any other sport where a board of control for that sport. Uh, Again, I said board of control. I didn't mean anybody in particular. I don't think they're calling up any manufacturer and trying to change the dynamics of the game. But I think in cricket, again, I'm not blaming anybody, but I think in cricket you can, and I don't think that should be allowed.
Vivas,
Yeah.
on a lighter note, you can name people. You have Bishen to fight your case if you get into trouble.
No. I don't want to fight defamation suits against anybody. I know
To be
Bishen's a
clear,
great
I
lawyer,
deal with
but
employment and labor law. I can deal with sexual harassment issues, maternity benefit issues. You guys commit crimes, you're on your own.
Damn it.
I mean, sexual harassment is a
we
crime, but
can't.
I'm talking about it at the workplace.
Okay, I'm being
We
politically correct from now on.
No,
Okay.
I would just like to sum up by just saying that I think that's what we love sport for, right? Sport is neutral. Sport brings everybody together, and I don't think and sport equipment should actually be neutral. And sport playing field should be neutral. I don't think you can ever take that away. That's my submission on that.
And I didn't elaborate my point of view. It is essentially that I like the fact that there are different challenges across the world that teams have to adapt to. Like the pitch is different. We're not going to standardize that. The ball's a bit different. And so that variable in cricket is something that I personally enjoy. So yeah, there are different points of view to this. I completely get Vivas's point of view on this as well.
So, Bishen, I have a question here. Suppose, and this did happen in cricket, right? Will you be okay with the fact that some countries have stronger cricket bats than other countries? And this did happen in cricket for a very long time.
That's an issue of access, right? If that was the case, you have different cricket bats today, and which is by the way standardized.
Yep.
As in there's maximum thickness, which came about only a few years ago. There's a maximum thickness that has been imposed. So there are rules about how big a cricket bat can be, but the entire world has access to it. So you pick what's good for you. If there's an issue of, I know you're referring to in the 70s and 80s when countries like England and Australia had access to better technology and equipment than some other countries.
Yeah.
But that's an access issue that's based on economy. That's of course not ideal because then the playing field is uneven. Right here, it's not a question of an uneven playing field. It's different countries having different specialities. It's not that one ball is better than the other. It's just different. Or one pitch better than the other. It's just different. So yeah. I mean.
Good. You make a fair point.
Yeah, so okay, that was on the balls. We discussed the toss, we discussed the ball. Viv, do you want to offer something to change the way cricket is played to even it up?
I'm going to throw something here. There is something that I really don't like. I'm 37 years old. I have a problem with one big thing in cricket. I have seen too many T20 World Cups. Like when I was 20 years old, I remembered the 96 World Cup. I remembered vaguely. I remember the 99. I remember 2000 where Sehwag I thought was going to win it for us. I remember the 2007 World Cup where we did horribly wrong. I remember winning the 2011 World Cup. But I'm going to throw this out here. There is a ridiculous number of T20 World Cups that are happening. I don't even know who won the last one. I don't know who won the one before that. I can't keep tab of it. Whereas in the ODI World Cup, I know you can shoot one at me. I'll tell you who played the finals and I'll tell you who won. It is just ridiculous how many World Cups there are. It's not a World Cup anymore. It is a fun tournament where some top teams come and play, and when they lose, nobody cries. I cried when Kambli cried. Nobody cries. You're supposed to cry when you lose a T20 World Cup. And guess what? My neighbor, who's 10 years old, Adu, I will get him to watch this, and I will tell you, in the last T20 World Cup, he didn't. No, the one that we won, he was very happy. The one before that, he didn't cry. 7-year-old, 8-year-olds are supposed to be crying, not saying, it's okay. The next World Cup is coming right there. That's my biggest point of view. Yeah. I don't want.
Just to
But
let you know,
they
Vivas,
listen to you.
I think David Miller cried.
Yeah. Good point.
But
Okay, I'll be honest. I cried
they listen to him.
for a completely different reason.
Go on.
No, I had tears of joy. I had tears of joy at the end of
Fair
this
enough.
World Cup. But I was just like, I'll tell you what happened. We lost the World Cup final, the ODI World Cup, and against Australia, and that was like the perfect World Cup that we played till then. And I was like, yeah, we're playing another World Cup. What, 6 months after, 8 months after? I don't even know. There are too many World Cups. I'm not okay with that. My first thing is, why a World Cup for every 2 years, T20? Like, that's
They've
a
now
problem.
changed it. Now the T20 World Cup is every 4 years. It used to be every 2 years.
So they changed.
Now it's every 4 years. And
So
they've
you're
done
saying they
that to
changed it
preserve-
based on listening to me right now?
Yeah.
It just happened.
No.
So what the ICC has done for the T20 for World Cups in general is to try and have one World Cup or world event a year.
Yeah.
So by having
So that's what I wanted to touch on. So I wanted to touch on the larger point was there is the Champions Trophy and there is the World, there is the T20 World Cup, there's an ODI World Cup. You can't have, and then there is now the World Test Championship. I understand.
Yeah, so those 4 things that you said, T20 World Cup, ODI World Cup, Champions Trophy, and the WTC, are the events that the ICC wants one per year. So each one will come only once in 4 years, but there will be an event every year. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm not for that. I'm not for that.
Okay.
I just think it's I'm just going back very honestly about it and saying when we grew up, my parents spoke about the 83 World Cup. We knew everything about it. The 87 World Cup happened in India. We knew a lot about it. The 92 World Cup, Pakistan winning was such a big thing. And then 96, that was the first cricket match that I ever cried for, the India Sri Lanka semi-finals. And we played in that beautiful jersey in the 99 World Cup. I can guarantee you, these are World Cups. Half of them I've seen and I've not seen. Don't call the rest of them World Cups here. It's not World Cups, right?
That 99 jersey I thought was ridiculous. It's a bunch of ducks across the Indian jersey. You like it?
I loved
that was one of our worst World Cup jerseys.
I loved it. I'm just not okay with. I don't know how many World Cups we've had in the last 10 years. For me, that's a bit.
This is going to stump you though. You said that the T20 format is the marketing tool of the game. Does it not need a marquee event?
Franchise T20. I'm all for it. I'm a huge CSK fan. I will always say it loud and proudly. I'm a big franchise T20 fan. I don't even think we need a T20 World Cup, to be honest.
I mean, I don't completely disagree with you either. It is a bit of a overkill, the fact that we have so many world events. Each one has lost its meaning a little bit. So yeah, I mean, I don't know which of the 4 I would scrap. The reality of this is that ODI format is the one that's going to die the earliest. It will not die till 2032. So that's a World Cup that will not happen in 15 years from now, as I see it. And along with that will die the Champions Trophy if it remains played in the ODI format as it currently is. So those 2 events could die. The test format is going to be kept alive. Every player in the market, fans as well as every other stakeholder wants that format to survive. So the WTC is here to stay and T20 cricket's here to stay. So those 2 are not going anywhere. The ones that could die are the Champions Trophy and ODI cricket, which, while I'm a fan of ODI cricket, the reality is we have to move with the times, and that's probably the format that is on its way out. So I'll take 2 world events, and I think that won't be too many, but we may have to wait 10 years for that to happen. Uday, if you have something to add on this, feel free, or you can.
I do
go
have
in
to,
your.
but I'll move on to the next point just to the interest of time. So,
Go.
it's about the ground dimensions which we were discussing briefly before this call. So yeah, I think uh, I'm actually appalled to see some grounds having 55 and 56-meter boundaries. It's ridiculous. I mean, you really need to do something to standardize. Um, at least I'm not saying every ground should have the same dimensions, but at least there should be a minimum. I would say 65
There
meters.
is. There is a minimum.
Is there? No. There,
The,
I was
yeah,
just doing up
the
some
minimum
reading.
is 55.
That's what I feel that's too less. I feel that needs to go up to 65. You cannot have a 55-meter boundary. It's ridiculous. I mean, especially in places like Bangalore, where I mean, I think with the kind of bats that the players are using nowadays, the kind of physiques most of the players have, 55 meters is peanuts for them. You got to make it a more, an even contest between bat and ball. You cannot have a guy, mishitting something which is going for six. That's just, I don't know. I find that that's just so
I don't
morally
know
crushing for the
if
bowler.
you've heard
Yeah,
if you've heard Ian Chappell say this,
yeah,
that he finds it ridiculous. I think he said this about 10 years ago or so, that uh, in an era when bat sizes are increasing,
yeah,
ground sizes are decreasing,
yeah. It's appalling.
which makes absolutely no sense
Yeah,
unless you're a masochist and just want to see bowlers being pounded.
yeah,
And that uh, even for the shorter formats, unless you view those formats as pure entertainment, right, that this doesn't make any sense. If you want to watch cricket, it doesn't make sense for bat sizes increasing and ground sizes decreasing.
yeah. If you're saying that 56 or 55 meters is the minimum, I think that should go up to 65 at least. You cannot have a 55-meter boundary. That's absolutely. I mean, why will
Yeah,
it?
I think it's 55. I mean, I said that because you said there is no
Yeah,
limit.
yeah.
There
I wasn't
definitely is a
aware.
minimum.
I'm glad.
But I think it's 55. We can look that
Okay,
up.
okay. But you definitely need 65 as a minimum, is my view. I don't know what you guys feel, but yeah, that's
I,
it.
I
Yeah,
completely agree, and I also I'm sorry, Bishen, I'm just going to step in here.
yeah.
Completely agree. I also think it makes a very weird spectacle when we don't play in the center and one
Yeah,
boundary is much shorter than the other. And I don't like this new trend where people are bowling well wide outside the off stump because one side is a lot. I think it just makes bad spectacle. Uh, but completely agree with Uday that maybe we just need to relook at it and say if you're right that there is a minimum size, perhaps it needs to be increased because some of it is ridiculously short. I would also go as far as saying we need to add a fourth and a fifth stump to help bowlers now.
Uh,
Yeah.
fun, fun. Cool. One more thing that I want to add, not strictly related to how the sport itself is played, but around the facts around it. One is cricket waits for the conditions to be perfect to play in, which really most other sports don't. And I get that in cricket, the likelihood of a player getting injured is greater. Like a bowler running in, and if he lands on a spot that's wet or slippery, there's a good chance that he'll be seriously injured. So I'm not talking about endangering players by playing in conditions that are completely unsuited to cricket, but I feel like we wait for it to be perfect. I mean, stupid rules like uh, if it's drizzling, you won't start playing, but if it drizzles while you are playing, you won't stop playing. Why? If it's such a light drizzle that you can play in, just play. And if it gets heavier later, then call the players off. Or or the fact that we wait for the light to be perfect, right? But now in Test cricket, you do turn the lights on when the light gets bad. But then again, you say that if the lights take over from natural light, then we stop playing. So now I was at the ground the other day watching the fourth day of the Bangalore Test where we collapsed beautifully. Uh, and I was looking at the ground to look for four shadows because you know that umpires are looking for four shadows. As soon as you see four shadows from the four light pillars, you know play will get called off. And as soon as I could start seeing the shadows clearly, I knew it was going to get called off. But why? Why are we looking for silly things like that? As long as the players can see the ball, just play. Uh, it doesn't have to be perfect. Now, even when footballers play on a wet field in the rain, of course they could slip and fall. But a call has been taken that there is a certain amount I mean, there's a certain level of conditions that you can play in. For cricket, that threshold seems to be far too low, in my opinion.
Agree.
One wet patch somewhere near the boundary, and often there's no game. I mean, just put some sand or sawdust on it, make it clear there's a wet patch there, and get on with the game.
I agree. I totally agree. I think they're disrespecting the viewer a lot well when they do that, especially the people at the ground or even the people watching. I mean, come on, you gotta get on with the game. There's wherever there's a
The
chance.
stated reason for it is noble. It is to protect players and not endanger them. Yes, and we should not do that. But
Yeah.
there is a line where below which you can play, and that line is just too high currently.
Yeah.
No, so I'll chip in here. I think one of the things is yes, safety I think is utmost priority, especially considering the history of cricket, right? Head injuries and so on. Cricket's been more injury prone than some of the other big sports. But I also think it's about grounds and how well grounds are doing. For example, Bishen, you mentioned the Bangalore ground, but you should also mention and commend the Bangalore ground for how well it got play started
Yeah,
again after the amount of rain that was there in Bangalore.
no
Uh,
doubt.
so, so I think with respect, and Uday spoke about respect for the viewer as well. I think with respect for that, I think test matches should be played at the highest, the best grounds ever. Uh, and I think that's very important. Honestly, when you're talking about T20, I think worst case scenario, play in the rain, yeah.
Yeah.
I think from a lot of what I've said, uh, I'm not trying to dismiss T20. I do think it's a marketing tool and treat it exactly as that. Play in the rain. I think the threshold for the rain for a T20 game should be much less. And I think if it's drizzling, you should say, yeah, I'm playing because it's almost as bad as dew, right? Uh, I would
Yeah, as
also,
long as the pitch doesn't get so wet that the ball
yeah,
behaves badly off it, right? That's
exactly.
really all that should matter. And the ground is not so wet that players are endangered. Those are the only two things that matter.
Yeah.
I agree with you. I agree with you with what you said for a T20 that it should be played, but I don't agree with you in test. I think uh, I'm a purist when it comes to that. I do think you need to play when the sun is out. I do think I'm for tea time. I think times like tea and lunch break and the way it's positioned as a 40-minute break and a 20-minute break, I think it gives you time to re-strategize. And I think even a rain break sometimes makes the entire match experience better, or it puts the match in a scenario that's very unpredictable or that needs a bit of strategy. And I think that's what's unique to cricket, and I wouldn't want to take that away from the sport. Like you said, I mean, you mentioned football. Footballers play in snow, right? But at the end of the day, the strategy of your game doesn't really change. I think that's what's lovely about football. What's lovely about cricket, and I would be a little circumspect about changing all of that. Uh, I mean, one of the things that I knew that was very important for cricket was the pink ball, uh, but I wasn't for it. I think it just changed too many conditions. I think it brought a whole new dynamics or a dimension to the sport that wasn't required because as a sport we're quite complex already. I am for what you're saying as long as it doesn't make the sport that we love more complex. I think if it keeps it the same or less complicated, I'm for it. But I do disagree that playing in slightly darker conditions or slightly more dark conditions, I think it will complicate the sport a lot more. And
Sorry, so just want to ask you, so you're not in favor of day and night test cricket? Is that, am I to understand that? I mean,
no, I'm not in favor of day-night test cricket because I think too many factors are involved between that 4 to 6 and
like,
the rhythm of the sport and how it's going forward just takes a complete toss and it becomes a bit of a gamble. Uh, I am not for it. I see the need for it, but I still wouldn't go that way.
Basically, gamble with T20 and keep testing it as it
Yes.
is what you
Yeah.
say.
Yes, absolutely. And you made another point earlier. I love ODIs, and I want to this was another discussion. But what happened to ODI? I don't remember a last good ODI match that we saw. Uh, because and I do think every tour needs to now start having standard sets of number of tests and ODIs and T20s. I think sorry, that's another discussion, but I think we need to think about if England goes to Australia and plays 5 tests, how many ODIs are they playing? Or they just accepting saying, yeah, the ODI game is dead? Who is
Yeah, the
in
ODI
charge?
game is dead. I think it's just being kept on life support for now because, and the only reason it's being kept on life support is because basically TV rights have been sold for a period of time and World
Yes.
Cups have been announced till 2032. So you can't have the
Yeah.
format die before 2032. And so it's being kept on life support so that those World Cups still have, enough
Yeah.
viewers and it make commercial sense. So after that, though, I mean, we'll see. I mean, unless the format itself really draws some great support in that time, it will most likely die after that.
But I do
And
think that's a problem because I think with that death will be a lot of fan base that stops following cricket as well, and I think they're underestimating the number that is. The new fans are frivolous. They're obviously younger. They're coming from newer countries, but I think they're a much more frivolous bunch compared to the diehard ODI fans who've kept the game going for as long as it has.
yeah, I'm guessing they're hoping the survival of Test cricket will help hold on to those fans because it's
Yeah.
similar demography that's watching ODIs and Test cricket. So hopefully they will stick on to watch Test cricket. Yeah, time will tell.
Yeah.
I think that brings us to the end of this episode of the Cricket Nuts. Uh, Uday, did you have anything to add before we wrap up? Because I know Viv and I were doing the talking on the last bit. Did you
No,
want to
no,
add anything to that?
not at all. I think it was very interesting. I wouldn't have too much to say. I just enjoyed listening to you and Viv. So it's a good point. It's nice to hear.
Great. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Viv. Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Cricket Nuts. I'm hoping that you will be there for more. Uh,
Much.
so
Thanks so
let's
much.
call it that.
Yes, thank you so much.
Pleasure. To everyone who's watching, we've discussed on this episode a bunch of things that we'd like to change. If there are new ideas that you have how this game can be better, more even in terms of balance between visiting team, home team, bat, ball, cricket commercials, growth of the game, etc., do share in the comments and let's hear from you. And I'm sure we'll be able to get back to some of you on those. Thank you, guys. Thank you for listening. Bye, everyone. Cheers.
Thank you.